future, right? Uh, so COVID-19, all of you know, right? COVID-19, what is COVID-19 and how it is very dangerous for present time. Uh, One person is waiting. So let me say about today's topic. Will be covered into a few things like what is pathogen, and then what is pathogen, then what is infection, then virus, what is the coronaviruses, then how this virus is started, and then the global scenario, what is the global scenario of this virus, why the disease pattern is very different in our country than the rest of the country, and why SCQ and other drug, you are already knowing about the drug, and the vaccine, then what is the impact of the corona in the past, not in the future, and how to manage this disease. So the pathogen, all of you know, especially master second year student, they know the pathogens that can cause an infection, right? And that is infection is going to lead some diseases. Speaking that is going to lead some diseases, and the symptoms are there. Symptoms like we can cause symptoms, and the most of these pathogens we study are most of the times are viruses or bacteria, right? Virus or bacteria. So what is
Bacteria.
bacteria, right? So what is the infection? The infections are when any unwanted either bacteria or virus that enters into our body, definitely through some port of entry, like the orifice, nasal part, that eye, then nose, mouth, and any cut part in your body. So that is started, pile off the symptom of the disease, and finally they can they can make you disease, right? So these are the pathogen. The virus is a unique property. Virus is a unique property. The virus is simply a chemical thing. Simply a chemical thing. It does not have any impact unless and until it enters into the body. So when it enters into the body, then it started replicating. So the most important aspect of this virus that actually hijack the host, right? So the virus does not want to kill the person or host, rather actually wants to multiply. The COVID is doing the same thing. The COVID is simply a coronavirus, and it is what was discovered in 1930. It's not very young, very new. That was discovered in 1930. And some researches were going on. The coronavirus, that means the corona sort of thing, that is surrounding of the sun, that looks like a corona, the wrath of surrounding a sun. That's why the name, just like a round structure, and then like that. So these are the pathogens and viruses. All of you know that viruses understand they are not computer virus, right? They are just not a virus of movie Three Idiots. The virus that means that can cause the disease, right? The smallest, and this virus is RNA virus. The genetic material is RNA. So that's why sometimes it is good for because the propagation of that virus, the infection of this virus may be high, but in the same time it will die if they stays for long outside the body, the host, right? So the rate of infection is very high. But good thing is that this virus does not have a long, death ratio of that larger death ratio that does not kill so many people. So mortality is very low on that content, right? So the bad thing about COVID is the incubation period of the virus. The incubation period of the virus is very, 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 very high, like 1 to 14 days. Suppose somebody is infected with some disease, with this infection, so he or she will not be able to know whether this is going to, whether few people are joining, right? Few people are joining, so let me make them join. 13 people. It's around 30. It's very, admit all, right? So So that is the things. The termination host, most of you all know the termination host. What is the termination host? A termination host is when the disease is terminated. Like the persons which are infected, the persons which are infected is going to die without. So the spreading of virus is stopped here. Spreading of virus is stopped here. So it does not most of the time. Uh, it is good. It is good for health concerns, but bad for that. The most important aspect is that how this virus is spreaded is the reservoir host. Reservoir host, that is most dangerous. I think most of you have already heard that this virus was found in that I should say in pangolin. Pangolin is supposed to be a very good host, very good reservoir host, and this virus was there in that pangolin for around 45 years. 45 years, right? And after 45 years, there are mutations are going on. Mutations are going on, and after mutations in specifically this spike protein, they cross the barrier, intergenic barrier, and supposed to infect the human being, and they are infected, right? So most of the dangerous scenario in the world that may happen if in the coming time, if this virus find a new reservoir host, then it is very, very dangerous. It's going to very dangerous, because in pet and other things they will stay for long, and they keep on multiplying. They keep on mutating, and after mutating that, they may happen that after 30 or 40 years, the new reservoir host is found. So that's why this virus is very dangerous, because the infection rate is very, very high. Infection rate is very high, but death is very low. So the coronavirus, I have already told, that is very mild to lethal exposures. Like there are other coronaviruses family members like SARS. SARS you have already already in 2003, right? Yes, in 2003 that happens. 2003 that happens, right? And then MERS is most deadly. The MERS is very deadly. MERS is very deadly virus, and that termination host is very high. And second is this COVID-19. The infection is high. At the same time, infection is high, but the disease is very late. So COVID-19 is a coronavirus, right? An infection disease that is most of the people that we get infected with mild to moderate. What are the symptoms of the disease? Symptom of this disease is they are fever, they have that underlying medical problems like cardiovascular diseases, then diabetes. If they are suffering from these diseases, this makes very, very dangerous for them. They're simply a respiratory syndrome virus, right? So one, we have to follow the respiratory hygiene as well as the hand hygiene and the hand hygiene. You have to follow this to avoid. So that is why this is so infectious. The infections, because this virus is particularly through droplet of saliva. They are spreading from one person to another person. So that is the bad thing about this. And one more important bad thing about this virus is the incubation is very long. That means 1 to 14 days. So if somebody has got infected, you are not going to identify those person unless and until 13-14 days were gone. 13-14 days is gone, right? So the common symptom of this coronavirus infection is a fever, tiredness, dry cough, and these are things, right? So let me say a few words about how to avoid or prevent, because all of you know that all of you know that is prevention is better than cure and treatment. So the coronavirus does not have a, till now there are no cure of this virus, no cure, no treatment. So most of the thing that happens is only the disease management. So we have to treat the disease by symptomatic aspect of that. So we have to treat some symptoms like respiratory symptoms, fever, cough, and other things, right? So wash your hands. So how to avoid? So wash your hands regularly with soap and water. Clean them with alcohol-based sanitizer. Any alcohol, 60 to 70%. Avoid touching your face. Cover your mouth and nose while coughing and sneezing. The most important thing. Stay in home if you feel unwell. You must stay in home. And then physical distancing and social distancing is one of the most important aspects, because by doing so, we can be able to kill the virus, not able to kill the virus, able to actually infection, rate of infection we can manage, because this has droplet effect. So we should maintain a distance of 6 feet or 1 meter between. These are actually written in WHO. WHO has given the name of this virus in COVID-19. COVID-19, that means coronavirus disease 19. And so these are the good practices to avoid. And most important thing is that there is a difference, much difference between these, like virus and flu. The flu and these corona symptoms are almost matching. The infection rate is also very, very matching. The only difference is that the incubation period. In influenza, flu, or whatever it is, the infection rate we can find in 1 to 40 is 3 to 5 days. But in coronavirus, this infection that happened, the symptoms happen after 14 days. So this you have to, and then there is a Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, that gives the exact data. CDC, that is in USA, that is managing almost all data in COVID and another disease, any infectious disease in the world. The CDC is the main, right? And another one in India, ICMR actually reports that. So don't go by anything, and wrong data or anything like that. Always believe the authentic data. So don't go by Facebook, don't go by any WhatsApp messages that the treatment is there, drug is there, or whatever it is. The most important thing, any pathogenic diseases has to be like infection and then mortality. So the rate of infection of this disease is very, very high, very, very high. But the good thing for us, like country India, that the death and toll rate is very low. It comes to maybe very little, like less than 1% sometimes. Why? So that is according to WHO. That is the report that almost all who are actually infected with the COVID, there are only 15% of the cases that is are severe. 15% cases are severe, and 5% are critical. So, being a country like India, we should not bother much, because we have to manage only 5%. Rest of them will be cured with minimum treatment. So 5% cases, that means 5,000 in 1 lakh, right? 100, 5 in 100, they need critical things, criticals like respiratory support, ventilation, and other things. And other persons, most of the young persons are got either they they will be like without much treatment on that. So treatment, let me come to the treatment of the disease. Treatment of this disease is not done yet. No treatment, no any drug available to treat this disease. No any drug is available to treat this disease. Somebody is speaking, so don't, please mute your things. Okay, so mute your, okay. Don't speak. Mute your mic. So there is no pure treatment. So we are going to happen, going to treat the symptoms, going to treat the symptom, and there are no cure for drug. So the drugs which are given are most of the time SCQ, the hydrochloroquine. That is actually basic drug for any disease like bacterial infections, like any virus. There is no antibiotic for this. Don't go by this because virus does not have antibiotic. Virus have the antiviral drug. So any antiviral drug existing nowadays, people are giving that. And for vaccine, it will take lots of time, maybe 1 or 2 years or that, right? So the prevention is always cure, better. So let us prevent. And the government of India has taken the initiative and already increases the lockdown period up to 3rd of May, right? To break the chain, so the spreading will be very, very, very low, right? And we are successful to some extent because the spreading rate is high, but not as high as the other countries of the world, right? Let me share some of the important aspect, how this virus is started. There are many theories, many theories. So, so there are various sort of thing, right? Various ways to combat the disease, right? The disease, when there is no cure, mind it, no cure, then there comes disease management. So the disease management, what's going on throughout the globe is the coronavirus, not actually disease. We have to manage this disease, and by managing, by giving drugs that are useful in most of the time, bacterial infections, malarial infections, because the basic of the medicine, the backbone of this medicine is hydrochloroquine, and that works almost various molecules. There is almost all diseases that happens, right? So let me say about the starting of the virus. There are many theories about that. The first that is actually going from Wuhan, started from Wuhan, China, right? There are many theories whether this virus is spreaded from Wuhan meat market, fish market, or there are some theories which are saying that this disease is spreaded by the particular lab in China, Wuhan. And there are many theories that also coming. The newspaper are saying that disease is actually there is a mutation in this virus. In 3 mutations are there, 3 mutations in spike protein. And mind it, there is already a sequence. All these spike proteins or spike protein are sequence, and it is found that this coronavirus that is infecting Indian population are different than what they are infecting in Italy and Europe and United States. They are different. There are 3 mutations on that virus, but in India there is only 1 mutation. So that means that's why the mortality of this virus is low in our country than in other part of the world, right? So that was as a reservoir in pangolins. Pangolins is a mammal and looks very ugly, but I don't know, Chinese prefer to keep as a pet, right? They used to keep as a pet, and that it keeps that virus in pangolin. When they are sequenced, they present coronavirus. There is 99% similarity of the virus that is found in pangolin. 99% similarity, and those virus shows 97% similarity with the virus that is found in bats. So chances is that are coming from a pangolin to bat and then finally to human being, and then doing the killing the person throughout the globe. So there is manipulated. There is recent report that says in the United States, actually that funded the bioterror bar or something like that. This research actually was funded by United States, and they are making a dreadful weapon to fight with the world. And that could be an economic war, that could be a biological war. I don't know that, right? So global scenario of this disease. What is the global scenario? The global scenario of this disease is very interesting. It was started in China in December, as per report in WHO. But I understand that disease would have arises, would have evolved far, far back, maybe in 2019 start or maybe before that, right? And interestingly, you can see any fatal death apart from Wuhan in China. Like you cannot see in Shanghai. This virus could not, you cannot see this virus in Beijing, but you can see this virus around almost 15,000 kilometers from that Wuhan. So that is very questionable whether this virus is man-made or I don't know that. That is a question. India in health sector is not so good. We rank 147. 147, but in USA 37. The rank is 37. In Italy, the rank is 2. In Spain, the rank is 9. UK is also below 50. So these people are fighting. They're fighting to treat the disease, but fortunately, in our country, we are unable. With the disease is not so dangerous for us, and there may be reason. There may be reason why this ratio is different in our country. So let me say about that, right? So what is the reason? When any infection occur, there is infections like stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. It is fortunate for us that we are still not in any phase 3. I'm confident that India is not going to going to in third phase, because government of India has taken a strong decision to combat the disease, and lockdown is useful, because what the lockdown is done, the infection what we'll get in future, that is due to that, right? So the global scenario is different from other part of the world. In India, we are privileged. Other theories are saying there are most of the. It is very interesting also when you see this any pathogenicity of infectious disease in the world. It started from Spanish flu in 1800. They killed around 1 crore of people throughout the globe, right? These diseases are not successful in the disease sense. I'm saying in the disease sense, they are not successful in Indian subcontinent. So the death is very little in Spanish flu also. So why it is so? The many theories are coming. So there are a food habit of the Indian are different from United States or European country. We prepare the food very strongly, so they kill virus, bacteria, everything. We don't eat any raw thing. Second important thing, we follow we don't follow so much hygiene, and sometimes our social structure does not allow to follow so much social hygiene. So that give a scenario that we are little bit more immune for those person residing in United States or European countries, right? And second most important thing that happens the disease is because they have already stopped, like BCG, like any bacterial disease. They never take any vaccine. United States and European countries, they think that this vaccine is not required, so they don't take any BCG. They don't take any influenza virus vaccines. So, but in India and Indian subcontinent, this is still going on. So that actually unknowingly enhance our immune system for any pathogen. So that might be the second reason, that because one good example, right? You see the Spain and Portugal. Spain and Portugal, they are side-by-side countries. Hardly is in a border, the similar border. The Spain, the death is 17,000 because BCG is not even there. BCG is not given there. But in Poland, to Portugal, still they are giving BCG. So the death is only 4 or 500. The infection rate is very little. So they are little bit more immune, we can say like that. So, but there is no clear cut research, well, only the review papers are there, right? So the immunity is higher in Indian subcontinent. BCG vaccination plays a great role. Not only BCG, another pathogen in vaccines that plays a great role in that. The influenza vaccination. Then, but the prevention is always better, like lockdown and social distancing. What the government is following on that, right? But already today we have heard that Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, has already increased the lockdown. I understand that it's very good decision because this is the only way we can prevent. As people sometimes thought that if the lockdown is over, the virus is over. This is very interesting. Virus is not going to die in coming 10 years or 15 years or maybe 100 years. Like influenza virus that was discovered very late, but it still continues. What will happen? The virulence will go. The virulence will go. Virulence, then pathogenicity will very little. This virus will may exist for 10, 15 years. So after the lockdown is over, we must follow the social distance up to minimum, as per my knowledge, December or something like that. We should not do party. The lockdown is over, the virus is over. It doesn't happen. Theoretically, it doesn't happen, right? So disease no cure. So prevention is better, always better. So, and second important thing is disease management. If there is older persons, any person that's suffering from that, so we must manage the disease, right? And that is the only solution for that. Most of the important thing when we understand, there is a very little detection method. What the detection method we are following in our country and throughout the globe is RT-PCR based, real-time PCR. So the real-time PCR is very costly affair. You know that I've already taught you. And real-time PCR is very lengthy process. It takes around 6 to 7 hours for detection. That might be the reason the case of coronavirus is very low in our country, because detection is very low. Unless and until we are able to find out any antigen antibody like kit, so it will be very difficult for the detections. Like dengue kit, it's just antigen antibody reaction. So antibody is coated in that, and we put the blood, it is detected in 30 seconds or 40 seconds. Just like that, it will very, I guess that it will be done in the coming 1 or 2 years. Nothing, and unless until it is not discovered, we must fight to combat the disease by preventing measures, right? So there is Ayush ministry. They have given some suggestions. They have so that they are going to do that, right? So we are going to lose the time. There is only 40 minutes free, and after that, so the HCQ, the hydrochloroquine, is a drug, and that was discovered by Dr. Roy from Kolkata in very long time. The HCQ, it is discovered in Bengal Chemical, and it is 70% of the total production of the world. So we are saving life throughout the globe, being a not developed country. Even if United States we are giving the drug. So scientists had discovered something very back, 70 years back or something like that, that medicine is still useful because the backbone is very important. So exporting, and it may take longer time, no doubt about that. And government of India, and maybe it is not out of the box of your thing, but the management is very important. So healthcare system should be increased by enhancing the paramedical staffs and other things, like even if the hospital management, like the infectious disease management, some sort of thing, maybe the government of India should do like that. So you can ask if you want to ask something. I finished this lecture, right? कौन? If anyone want to ask, you can ask. Who want to ask question? Anyone?
Sir, my question is that erythromycin is also used for the treatment purpose. What about that?
This all antiviral, antibacterial disease that are in use. All right. This is also a disease management. You mute your, please. Mute your thing. Mute. When not you are not speaking, mute your mic. Then we will be able to find it. Right. So another question, that is just antibacterial disease we can do. That is still a disease management, not the fact that we are going to cure that disease. This is disease management. Erythromycin is given, correct. Next.
सर टेम्परेचर का कुछ रोल रह सकता है क्या?
Temperature, there is maybe this there is no so much report on that, but temperature high definitely decreases the living period of RNA, definitely. But temperature-based research is not available in that part because Africa, the temperature is very high, still very high, disease is there. Then Dubai, the temperature is high, but disease is there. So there is no direct correlation on that. But yes, RNA can die in high temperature.
Thank you,
Anyone?
sir.
Anyone? Please, मिश्रा जी बताओ. Anyone? Akanksha?
Yes, sir. I have one question. Sir, why we are giving them anti-malarial medicines? It is a viral disease. Why we are giving anti-malarial medicines?
So yes, not it's malarial disease. Actually, in synthetic chemistry, what will happen? Most of the disease has a backbone. The SCQ quinine backbone that covers around 70% of the total drug, right? So somehow the drug is given to increase the immune system of that. Nothing bigger role than that, right? So that is the main thing.
Sir, another question from me that why it cause pneumonia in critical condition?
Pneumonia, there are many pathways like ACTU and others that can be described. But when that sits on that increase. One thing I forgot to say that somehow we should increase the lung capacity, lung facility, and how it actually enhances. The lung capacity should be increased, right? So that is, and so there are water actually accommodated in lungs due to that, and because AC2 receptor that binds in that, and there is long mechanism, and it is respiratory that attack. This virus attacks the respiratory part of that. So yeah, we can.
Sir, it was said that there is an autoimmune condition arise at the alveolar level, so that the lungs alveolar filled with water. At that is correct, or the pathway you said that is correct?
See, yeah. Actually, what happens now? Autoimmune disease. There are many things. This is very new thing, a new topic. So yes, papers are coming on that aspect also. और कोई? अंबुज बताओ. Ambuj, you want to ask? और बताओ. So stay. If not, then I have to leave. And so stay home. Happy home. And good day.
You, sir.
Good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.